So we made a video the other day looking at critics' reviews of the highly anticipated, and that is a joke, Madam Web. Madam Web sits from critics at a 13% right now on over 170 reviews. However, fans may be in a slight disagreement, and we will go over this in the video. Welcome back to Fantasy Theory. How is everybody doing today? Before we start, leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Let's jump right into the video. So let's get to the Rotten Tomato score. I say this in all my videos where I use Rotten Tomatoes, but I know a lot of people don't like Rotten Tomatoes, but I do feel like it makes for great content, and I honestly may not even see this movie. Well, I'll probably see this movie, but there's a small chance I don't. So I feel like this is a good way to kind of review and kind of warn myself of what I'm about to get into if I see the movie. The audience score with over 250 verified ratings is sitting at a 54%, which a 54% is a much higher score than what critics gave it. Doesn't mean it's good and the Sony-Verse is saved, but it does have a classic case of fans and critics disagreeing, but to a slight amount. But let's take a look at some reviews, and before we start, warning, these reviews may have some spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled for this movie if you plan on seeing it, but let's jump right into it. It wasn't even a film to pass the time. I nearly fell asleep a few times. Costumes were only part of one scene, and it was messy with so many plot holes and inconsistencies that you just never get into the movie, and they couldn't even get the line "with great power comes great responsibility," and went with an altered one which dulls the meaning of the line completely. So the "with great power comes great responsibility" line got screwed up. That is a huge L and a terrible decision on Sony's part. I really enjoyed this movie. It's getting a lot of unnecessary hate. I think people expect too much and compare everything to the Disney Marvel when they're two separate things. I feel like if you have high standards, that's okay, and should expect movies to deliver and not really settle for okay movies. This movie wasn't nearly as bad as the professional reviewers gave it. I think there's a bias against Sony Spider-Verse movies. It was better than either of the Venom movies and Morbius. The acting was good all the way around, which should be the case because you have some solid veterans and some talented up-and-comers. Script was fine. The villain was a bit disfocused though. It's a pretty good origin story. I would like to see more of these heroes as they evolve, but unfortunately, we probably won't get that chance. I'm a fan of both Venom movies. I feel like they're very underrated, so I'm worried though, am I actually going to like this movie and I can't really hate on it like I want to? Oh no. It's Morbin time again. In essence, Madam Web is a mediocre film with an enjoyable story that is squandered due to its short duration and poor direction. While the main characters are sufficient to carry the film, unfortunately, their adversaries pale in comparison. The weakness of the antagonist automatically weakens the film. However, beyond everything else, the biggest problem with the project is entrusting it to a TV director, S.J. Clarkson. Despite having a highly skilled cinematographer like Mauro Fiore behind it, the decision-making process fell short in the hands of the director. Rather than being potentially much better, it ended up resembling a simple and cheap action series from the early 2000s. Hashtag movie review, hashtag Madam Web. So the movie is an origin story. We knew that from the commercials, plus she's new to the Sony Marvel associated project. The film wasn't as bad as critics are putting it out to be. It was just a bland and boring story. It wasn't any kind of build-up or lead into anything more than what you got in the commercials or the trailers. She's pretty much a boring superhero who gives you the vibe of Professor X, without any credible fighting style. It was sad to see the three actresses basically just be a running gag. They were just three little girls trying to keep from being killed. The crazy thing is that all three of the actresses are actually actresses that have had legitimate roles. Chelsea is Lucky from Ghostbuster franchise, Isabella is from the Transformers franchise, and Sweeney is from the blockbuster hit in theaters currently, Anyone But You, and of course, Madam Web Dakota Johnson is from 50 Shades of Grey franchise. So together, this looks like an A+ outstanding, phenomenal, over-the-top, successful combination. But it is not. It does not make me want more. It did not make me want to see the movie again because it was just boring. I think overall the film had a lot of potential if it would have been written better. It could actually done something, but it was almost 2 hours of straight dialogue, flashbacks, back and forth. Is this going to work or not going to work? And then you're just like, I'm over it when it's over. And do not wait. There are no end credit scenes. I think Sony actually came out saying there was no end credit scenes like when the movie came out, but if you didn't know, now you know. But let's do some quick to the point reviews. The worst movie I've ever seen by a landslide. Congrats to everyone involved for not caring even a single bit about the final result. Love. Better than everyone said. 5 stars on that from Mickey Lover. It really caught me. It has a lot of Easter eggs. I really liked it. My daughter and I loved it. Looking forward to the next one in the series. Now this one I like. I'm happy they enjoyed it, and it's obvious the targeted demographic on this movie, which is no problem. Just wanted to point out that people are liking it. This has got to be the worst film of the year, and we're already at the start of the year. We're only in February. But hey, that is where Hollywood puts the worst films of the years that they want to get out of the way. You tend to get the fairest reviews from the 3-star ones, so here's one. Madam Web starts off weak with its pacing, but comes back strong and resolves some of its major issues. The film still has its occasional struggle with CGI, but what other superhero movie doesn't have that? There are some corny lines and some really interesting acting choices, but with that being said, the movie is not that bad. This movie comes back strong after some of its struggles and creates a fun and interesting story with a nice premise to the introduction of Madam Web and the beginning of a possible live-action Spider-Verse film series. This is not a Spider-Man film. There is not action in the sense like a Spider-Man film, so please do not come into this thinking there is going to be an intense action, but the action that is there works well for the movie. Truly one of the movies of all the Madam Web is a true masterpiece, dethrones Morbius as one of the worst Sony-Verse films of all time. 10 out of 10. This one made me laugh. 5 stars, but absolutely shits on the movie. We love the internet. There's tons of different reviews, but I could go on and on, but I just want to get to the point. A lot of comments hating on the movie, but honestly a lot more comments giving it 3 or more stars than I expected, and I'm actually surprised at that. With a 50% fans are mixed on it, not as nearly as harsh as critics, but they are mixed, and there seems to be a disagreement, because I don't think they really wanted to come out with a 50% mixing fans and getting 13% from the critics. Is this another case of fans and critics disagreeing, or are there people defending it just to defend it, and are there people hating on it just to hate on it? We may never know. If I get the courage to watch this movie, I'll put a review up, but we will see. Leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching, and have an incredible day.